How prove you that the Church has power to command feasts and holy days? Answer: by the very act of changing the Sabbath into Sunday, which Protestants allow of, and therefore they fondly contradict themselves, by keeping Sunday strictly and breaking most other feasts commanded by the same Church. Question: how prove you that? Answer: because by keeping Sunday, they acknowledge the Church's power to ordain feasts and to command them under sin.
According to this, it certainly looks as though everything has been set up for her feast days, or her holy days of obligation, to be enforced, along with the enforcement of Sunday keeping. This should certainly open the eyes of God's people to see that the message in Revelation 18:4, "Come out of her, my people," surprisingly applies to you and me, as well as Sunday-keeping Christians. Even though God's prophetic types have been usurped with pagan days, it has been promised that every divine institution will be restored.
In the time of the end, every divine institution is to be restored. The breach made in the law at the time the Sabbath was changed by man is to be repaired.
Note, the breach caused by the seventh-day Sabbath being usurped by Sunday legislation was repaired before the writing of this statement. God will accept only a remnant to follow him if that's all there is. If we're waiting for the entire world before we consider this breach repaired, we will wait forever, for the entire world will never repair this breach. This statement doesn't limit the weekly Sabbath issue as the only cause of the breach. It implies there is more, as do the prophets when using plural nouns such as breaches, old waste places, and restorer of paths. Since we know, upon the writing of this statement, that the Sabbath breach had been repaired, the natural question would be, what else was being usurped when the Sabbath was being replaced with Sunday worship? Bishop T. N. Wright already told us in a previous quote, but what do historical records expose?
The first Sunday law was decreed by Constantine in 321 AD. Easter was decreed in the Council of Nice in 325 AD. Christmas decreed December 25 in 330 AD.
Even though these holidays were decreed law at the time the Sabbath was usurped by Sunday law, how do we know that they're the ones that caused the breach in God's law? These days honor the same pagan deity God called an abomination throughout the Old Testament. Moloch and Ashtaroth are only two of the many names given to this pagan deity. Israel's participation in the rituals for the Queen of Heaven, God said, provoked him to anger. And because of their continuance in these practices, he closed probation on them, sending them into captivity. And today, we have been tricked. Stardust was sprinkled on these holidays, and we now treasure them as endearing family occasions. Their sin, mixing the paganism with the things of God. This is mingling the sacred and the profane.